You know, I'm often asked, one of the questions I get the most, especially at the pop-ups that I do, is, am I a real chef? You know, to answer that question, I think you kind of have to ask yourself, what is a real chef? A real chef is a person who uses ingredients to create flavors. I think I do that. I think I maybe excel at that a little bit. You know, another way you can define a chef is someone who works in a restaurant. You can often find them, I don't know, trying to diddle the underage wait staff, having a shift drink at about 11 a.m. In that regard, you know, I don't really consider myself a chef. A chef is a commander of their domain. They're the culinary captain of the kitchen. This is my domain. I like to think that I'm the captain of this area right here until Nicole says otherwise. You know, as far as working with ingredients to create flavors, yes, this is something I do. This is something I think I do, you know, maybe better than most people. You know, I like to use a lot of prepackaged ingredients, things that already come in cans. You know, they're on the shelves at the stores, these items, not because they suck, okay? They're there for a reason. They're in every store for a reason. I like to source the local corner store. I like to hit my local Baller General, my family baller, the baller tree. I like to think that I have a pretty good understanding of how ingredients, flavors, and some basic cooking techniques work. You know, I'm not a beast like the Joshua Weissmans of the world or the homie Chef Olivia. You know, I don't have a lot going on up here when it comes to a recipe. So typically what I have to do is look at recipes. I have to Google something, look at multiple recipes, pull from a bunch of them, and just kind of give my own twist to what we're gonna create. But for today, we're gonna be doing a little Baller General special. We're gonna do a nice little Chipotle roast beef sandwich. I've got some ingredients that I sourced from my local neighborhood baller tree. I've got myself a can of roast beef in gravy. This is great. You know, it's got 22 grams of protein. There's 2 servings in this can, so 44 grams of protein in this can. So for you fucking gym hardos, put your little protein shake back in the blender, throw it in the trash, dump it down the sink, get yourself a can of roast beef in gravy. You got 44 grams of protein right here, baby. I've got some Chipotle peppers in adobo sauce. Now you can get a can of just the adobo sauce. It's gonna have a great flavor. It's not gonna have a lot of the spice or the heat that I'm looking for. These Chipotle peppers, typically in these cans, are fucking spicy, dude. So if you're looking for some heat, this is what you're gonna wanna use. I've got some nacho cheese dip that we're gonna put on this sandwich. It's gonna be nice and creamy. I could've went with a bagged shredded cheddar, but I saw this. This was like $1, dude. So how could I not go with it? I've got some banana peppers. Wanted to put something pickled on there. I could've went with a pickled jalapeno, but we're already kind of rocking with the Chipotle peppers, so I figured why not go banana pepper on this for our pickled item. And lastly, we're gonna have to serve this thing on a bun. I actually scored at the Baller store, and I got myself some Martin's potato rolls. Typically, I don't think you would see those at like a Baller General, but I saw them sitting there, I snagged them, baby. Now this whole haul of ingredients cost me about $10, so I'm gonna try to make at least 2 sandwiches. I think there's enough in that roast beef can for me to make 2 sandwiches. I mean, if that ain't the deal of the fucking century, I don't know what is. All right, we're gonna whip this whole thing together. It's gonna be super quick, super simple. We're just gonna heat some of that roast beef up in a pan, and then we're gonna put this whole thing together. And then we're gonna have ourselves a nice smoky Chipotle roast beef sandwich, hero, sub, hoagie, grinder, whatever you wanna call it. Now this delicious canned meat right here is reminiscent or Rubenesque, I forget which one of those words it is, but it reminds me of the delicious meat chunks that come in like a Dinty Moore beef stew. Absolutely superb, and it's actually got me thinking that you could mix this with some canned potatoes, canned carrots, and some canned or frozen peas, and you could actually have yourself like a poor man's beef stew. You know, as I mentioned, these Chipotle peppers are fantastic. I mean, if you love a good smoky Chipotle flavor, it doesn't get much better than this. All we're gonna do right here now is make a little Chipotle chop. We're gonna drop a whole Chipotle on there and a little bit of sauce just to keep it chefy. I'm also gonna add a little bit of black pepper. I know that wasn't in the initial ingredients, but I mean, if you don't have black pepper in the house, you got bigger fucking problems. Now, if you're a complete psychopath, you could leave these little meat nuggets whole. I'd like to think I'm mildly sane, so that's why we're chopping it up. After all is said and done there, we're just gonna drop it into a hot TJ Maxx pan. You don't need some stainless steel piece of shit or some cast iron. Nice little $20 job from TJ should do you right. Now all that there's really left to do is assemble this meat masterpiece onto the bun with some of our Chipotle roast beef. Now I'm gonna go cheese right out of the can here. It's already mouth ready. There's no reason to heat it up. I mean, if you're feeling like a real fucking hardo, I guess you could heat it up. But I kind of feel like that's taken away from the whole I'm a piece of shit part of the recipe. Now I got on my chef shit here for a minute. I hit it with a little bit of smoked paprika. It's not gonna do much for flavor, but in the looks department, it's gonna tie the whole fucking thing together. Finally, we're gonna top it off with some banana peppers to round this whole thing out. All right, we have our smoky Chipotle roast beef sandwich. Our Baller General roast beef sandwich came together just magically. It took about 5 minutes to make this thing. I went with a pretty hefty portion for this. I could have spread it thin between the 2 cans of roast beef, and I probably could have done the whole 8-pack of rolls. They would have been smaller sandwiches, but I think we could have done all 8 between 2 cans of roast beef. So still under $10, right around $10, in the vicinity of $10. We could have had ourselves 8 roast beef sandwiches. Now there's a million variations I could have done of this sandwich. We could have put some mac and cheese on top. We could have went with a more peppers and onions route. I mean, honestly, we could have kept this thing like totally home style. Put some mashed potatoes on there, put a little crispy bacon on there. All right, enough yapping, you fucking idiot. Take a bite, would you? Now, I mean, I could have spent half the day making a pot roast, doing a pot roast in the Dutch oven or the crock pot, okay? Half a day wasted. 5 to 10 minutes, you got yourself a delicious little Baller General Chipotle roast beef sandow. And I mean, honestly, if you're feeling extra froggy, we can do a little dip of gravy there, okay? Now we have ourselves some sort of like fucked up little French dip action, some sort of Yankee pot roast sandwich with the gravy dip. Oh, bro. This is gonna be the bite right here. I mean, you put a couple tables. What? I mean, you get your local Baller General to put a couple nice tables out front. You put a little kitchen in the back. I think that's what the dollar store is missing. Some tables out front, a kitchen in the back, me whipping up Chipotle roast beef sandwiches. Noma who? You know, Gordon Ramsay? Never heard of her. Honestly, you know what this could use? And I was thinking this when I was putting this together, is it could just use a little crunch. I want to put a couple sweet and spicy Cape Cod jalapeno chips right on top, just to give us a little crunch. I think that's all it's missing. It needs something crunch, a lot of soft. There's a lot of soft going on. You know, we're talking about mouth feels. There's some softness going on. I got a lot of soft stuff in my mouth right now. I want something a little harder to go in my mouth. I mean, it's got a nice spice to it. The Chipotle is really nice. I was kind of worried because sometimes those Chipotles in that fucking can can kick your ass a little bit. For me, this is pretty much right where I need it in terms of spice level. And I mean, that's pretty much it right there. That's a smoky Chipotle roast beef sandwich hero sub grinder hoagie, all for right around $10. We're balling on a budget. We're dolling on a budget? No, we're not. We're not dolling on a budget, you fucking